Hey, welcome back to another episode of Ego on Break. Had a little technical difficulties with our mount.
Tearing up my car, you jackass.
Is it all
WrestleMobile
so?
going. You got hardcore.
Yeah. So the problem with things setting in the sun is they don't like stuff to touch it.
Yeah.
So yeah, on this episode of Ego on Break, we're gonna do a
Stylish.
yeah. We're going to do a little different, and we are going to talk wrestling movies and documentaries. And if we have time left over, may throw in some what we watched in wrestling this week.
I figured we just do that tomorrow.
Okay, maybe not then. So it is a 2-for-1 episode.
Hey, I'm off for 6 damn days. I had to do something.
I got you. All right, so I think the most iconic... What do you think the most iconic wrestling movie out there is?
That everybody's probably seen?
Yep.
I would go with 2. Probably Wrestling with Shadows or Beyond the Mat.
Okay, so not The Wrestler?
No, I'm going with documentaries, but as far as a movie went...
Yeah. Ready to Rumble?
Sadly, I was
Nacho Libre?
There's 3 I would think of right off bat. Ready to Rumble, No Holds Barred,
Yeah.
and The Wrestler.
I forgot about No Holds Barred. So,
But that was probably one of the very first wrestling movies.
well, no, you know, Vern Gagne had.
No, I mean, besides that one, I've never
Yeah.
seen that one. I
I
know what you're
looked for
talking
it.
about.
I looked for it, but I couldn't find it. I found clips of it,
That's what I did.
and it was pretty good, but I could not find the whole thing. But it's called The Wrestlers from the '70s, and I read in the comment that some guy said he found it in the bargain bin at Target for $1. So I'm going to start checking out.
I'd like to see it. I really would.
The few clips I watched looked really good. So,
But I know they're following them around like it's a real event,
yeah.
like a build up to a big show, more
Right.
or less.
And then like a wrestler gets killed in the ring, and that's the clip I
Really,
watched.
I didn't
yeah.
know that part.
Someone, I think Ray Stevens, did the knee drop from the top rope and killed him.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
So crushed his trachea.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. Maybe the Wrestling with Shadows, or like you say, the Beyond the Mat. I think maybe Beyond the Mat probably more than any.
Well,
if you're looking at just documentaries.
I really say Beyond the Mat because that actually made it to theaters. And
Yeah.
not many of those movies
True.
made it to theaters.
True. You know, another could be the Vice series that just came out. They were pretty popular being on TV and stuff.
Oh, Dark Side of the Room?
Yeah. So
I only
that
saw
could
2 of
be-
those, and man, neither one of them were just...
I enjoyed all of them.
I enjoyed them, but good God, were they depressing.
Yes, they were.
Because it was Brody and the Von Erichs are the 2 I saw, and I was like, man, the Von Erichs, I was damn near in tears. It was so sad.
Right.
So, I mean, Brody's is pretty damn
Yeah,
sad.
they have
too.
one on like independent wrestling. It's pretty good. It features basically MVP. Like,
Yeah, I
he's
got
pretty
about
much the
3 of
main
them I
guy.
need to see, so...
So what's out of wrestling documentaries? What's your favorite?
Actually, it's one me and you have both seen multiple times, but Unscarred.
Okay.
The Sig Nick Mondo
Yeah,
story.
the Nick Mondo. Yeah.
And he become a filmmaker.
Yeah, I have his movie. by
Matter
the
of
way.
fact, the video that come out of John Moxley breaking out of the prison,
Mhm.
that was him.
Oh, really?
That was him filming
Okay.
it. So
I did not
he
know
said
that.
he told Vince, I'm making a movie. He goes, technically it wasn't like a 2-hour movie, it was like 30 seconds. But I didn't lie to him. He says I lied to him, but I didn't lie to him. But it was him and Sick Nick Mondo making the movie because
Yeah.
he knew Mondo from the Indies and CZW.
Right.
So I thought that was really cool. And if you go watch that, that's some great filming.
I'm gonna check that out. I
It
haven't
looks
seen
like a movie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I have the trade that Nick Mondo put out, kind of like his career type thing.
mhm.
It's really cool.
Oh
I'd
yeah,
let
I
you
saw
borrow it.
that.
Have you
too.
seen it?
I've seen that. It was on Netflix or
yeah.
something.
Well, I think my favorite it's called Inside Wrestling, and it basically features like a tryout to ROH, and the star of the movie was this guy named Shima Zion, who
Yeah,
later
I've
went
seen
on to
him.
be DJZ and whatever he
Mhm.
is in NXT now.
Is he in NXT?
Yeah.
God.
So he finally got the big shot, you know. But that's probably my favorite one because it just shows kind of the process of what this guy went through, and it's very cool.
Did it go to the point where he got injured? Because remember, he broke his
No,
neck,
it didn't go that
basically.
far. Yeah.
He got messed up pretty bad and then come back, and now
Yep.
he's come back multiple times. He's had a lot of injuries
Yeah,
through the
yeah.
years.
But it showed like his mom making his gear, and
Mhm.
you know, basically she was like a paid for bride from the Philippines,
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah,
Like,
that's messed up. But
So it was pretty cool.
hey, you got to do what you got to do to get here. But some people fall in love that way,
Yeah.
so you never know.
You never know. But I mean, I think she stayed with the man until he died, and then so.
What was the one we watched with Matt Cross? I can never remember the name of that one because I wanted to put it down, but I couldn't remember the name of it.
What do you mean, The Link?
No, remember there was a documentary we watched. It was on the backyard wrestling.
Yeah, it's called The Link.
Is that what it was called?
I had that on my list. Basically, The Link was the backyard wrestling link message board before social media. You had message boards, and that's pretty much where the craze came from.
Well, that was him and Josh Prohibition.
Right. So that's pretty cool. It tells a lot about how like backyard wrestling grew, but it's not the backyard wrestling company that put out all those tapes in the 90s. It's not that company putting it out. It's really about the message board, but it features a lot of Matt Cross in it.
Well, remember we took one over to Jesse's that time. We watched it with him. Remember?
Okay, well, yeah, well that was the one that Backyard Wrestling put out.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I can't remember the name
of it. But at the end, it wound up showing how they made it to a video game with ICP and all kinds of people were on that damn video.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to have them old video games. I got rid of all of them.
Yeah.
Once your system went down, you kind of trashed them. But
yeah. Be cool just to have now.
Just as collector's edition, it's the type thing.
They're out there. You can definitely find them.
Yeah,
So
most of them are.
Yeah. But I stumbled across while I was watching documentaries. I stumbled across this. It's basically like a news story from the 70s. And it featured Vern Gagne and this Olympic amateur wrestler named Chris Taylor. And basically, Chris Taylor was like this super heavyweight. All through college, he went undefeated, went on to the Olympics to wrestle, and he won like a bronze medal in like 1972 or something. And so Vern gave him a huge contract to basically become a student / wrestler. And it was like, they were talking about it was like $400,000 over 5 years. So,
Jesus.
But he weighed like 550 pounds or something. So he was massive.
Are they really working outside in a barn?
Yep.
I've
And
seen that.
it follows him and it shows some of the stuff where it basically builds up to his first match. But in there, the one of the guys that are training with him was a guy named Bob. And Bob stood out because he had a very large chin and a really thick mustache. And once I put Bob and the chin and the mustache together, I realized that Bob was Sergeant Slaughter. So I don't know really what happened to Chris Taylor, but I know what happened to Bob. And Bob went on to be a pretty decent wrestler. So.
Yeah. I think my favorite match he was in was the one with Pat Patterson,
Yeah.
the boot match. That match was hell.
Oh, speaking of that, while I was basically wormholing through wrestling documentaries on YouTube, I came across this disturbing clip of Roddy Piper.
Okay.
And it said, "Did Pat Patterson molest Roddy Piper?"
Yes, I've seen that.
That's pretty tough to watch.
Yeah.
Pretty tough.
And it didn't help with the way Roddy answered the question.
Right.
Is what it was. And then he comes back and he completely says, "No, this never happened. I don't appreciate people saying
Well, I just saw a
that."
little clip, so.
No, well, he comes back later on and gives a whole answer. He's like, "I hate that people go this way with it," and I'm like, "But you didn't really answer the
Yeah,
question."
you
in the
made
right
it seem
way.
that way,
And no, it
so.
really did, and I agree with that. But he comes back in the second interview and he says, "No, it never happened." So no, go find that.
I got you.
Because he's really mad. Like he said that.
Yeah,
the
but
way
he led it that
I,
way.
I agree 100% because I thought the same thing.
Because the guy was like, "So was it politics? Like, was you trying to hold you?" He's like, "No, not exactly." Like,
Yeah, he beats around the bush about it. Instead of telling you the story, he's walking around the tree to tell you the story, and he never tells you the full story.
right.
So he just said, he's like, "It's real." But there's the second part of the
I
interview.
got you.
Go find it and watch it because
Might
he
watch
comes back and he's mad and he's like, "I didn't mean it that way. It's bull crap. He never molested me. Nothing like that ever happened. I hate people think there's sickness in the world." And he goes, "Not that it don't happen to people, but it didn't happen to me."
Well, when you say, "Well, I was once a pretty kid and this was a hard business," so
I agree.
I mean,
It's-
like, you didn't do yourself
No.
no favor, so don't blame the people for taking it the way you intended for it to be taken. You know.
The setup of it was not the way he said it. Screwed
Yeah, it
himself.
was bad. So, okay, well, that's good to know that.
Yeah, no, he comes back really mad. I said, go find it. It really answers a lot of questions, but He should have answered him first because he
Right.
screwed his own self.
And then the other documentary that I had written down, I think it was called Shake 'em or something like that. But it was basically Prince Devitt leaving New Japan.
I've seen him. I've never watched it.
Or Smack 'em Up. That's what it was called. Smack 'em Up. I don't know where I got Shake 'em from.
I have no idea.
Smack 'em Up, the Prince Devitt, Finn Balor documentary. I think that's what it's listed on YouTube. Check that out. It's really cool. Shows a different side of wrestling, you know, and it's really funny for me because I was like, all these people putting over how Finn was like the #1 wrestler in the world, and you know he got hurt, and then it all went downhill.
Yeah.
So, but he listed all the injuries he had in this documentary, and like he's got an injury list like Foley's.
Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous. But again, all them dives and crap, man. Yep. You don't win matches doing that crap.
Yeah. It was funny because he was like, and a few black eyes and a few broken fingernails. So it was pretty funny. But
well, what was your top 3 movies?
Top 3, I think, was The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. That to me, I think that just it showed an ugly side to wrestling, but at the same time, it was probably closer to what we have seen on our level. Like
on our level, yeah.
I don't know, maybe I just have been in the wrong places or whatever, but I've never seen like the rampant drug use and stuff like that.
No.
So that part was, I think, a little Hollywood, like throwing in the 1980s into it or whatever. At least from where I've been. I mean, I can only speak on what I've been in.
Yeah.
None of that, never really, but the rundown gyms and hoping there's people here and plastering it and having day jobs and sleeping in your car, like all that's norm.
Hey kid, the house is a little short.
Yeah, I mean that's normal. So
yep, heard that crap more times up here.
Yeah, but
you can get a hot dog on the way out the door and a Coke for 50 cents instead of $1.
Yeah, so I mean that's probably one of my top ones. And if I could get some flack from this, I like Ready to Rumble. Not a lot of people do.
No, I hate that movie.
Crown them, King, crown them. I like that. And probably the other one isn't necessarily a wrestling movie, but I think it would count, is Man on the Moon with Jim Carrey in it.
Technically,
I mean,
yeah.
technically it's Andy Kaufman's kind of life, but his life there for a while revolved heavily around wrestling. So to me, those are probably my 3 favorites. What about you?
Well, I was kind of like you. I picked The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. My reason for picking it is, but one, like you said, I've seen this, that, and the other in wrestling, and some I don't mind seeing, and some I've seen, and I'm like, wow, that really just happened, huh?
Yeah.
So, but it's part of it, and you can either get involved in it or just kind of look the other way.
Right.
And I kind of look the other
Yeah,
way. It's none of my business as long
maybe
as
that's why I
ain't
haven't
done
seen a lot, because I walk around like this.
I know you do. I've seen you. But I just look the other way, But,
I'm normally too busy to see anything. So.
One of my favorite, I used to talk about that. And the funny part to me, the drug dealer in the movie wound up getting arrested for being a drug dealer in real life. And I'm like, he's Leonardo of the Ninja Turtles. But yeah, but as far as like a movie where like Mickey Rourke trained hard to become like, I ain't gonna say he was a great wrestler, but to pull off being a wrestler.
Right.
He did a lot of his own bumps. He did a lot of his own stunts. And I think he did a great job. So that's probably one of my favorite movies. And I like the ending because you really don't know if he lives or he dies.
Right.
It leaves you on that little cliffhanger.
I think he died.
No, I hope he lived. And,
well, we all know he lived. He came to WrestleMania.
Yeah, and knocked out Chris
Jericho.
So, anyway.
Looking nothing like the character he played.
No, he had his hair tied up and stuff.
And dyed black. And
yeah.
But
anyway, the next one was Paradise Alley. It was a Sylvester Stallone movie. Because Stallone was a huge wrestling fan. Yeah. And it's about this guy. It's his brother. He winds up, his wrestling character becomes Kid Salami. Because he's basically
like an Italian type.
Yeah, he's Italian, but he carries ice blocks for a living. Back then, you'd have to carry ice to people. Mm-hmm. And this big son of a gun was carrying up flights of stairs with his clips. And he would finish the move with this on both hands on your neck, and he called it the ice clamp. It was really cool. And dude, if you look in this movie, the list of wrestlers that are in it is beyond real. Terry Funk's the main bad guy.
Oh, that's cool.
You brought up Ray Stevens. He's in the movie. There, if you look on Vern Gagne's, I think he had basically Vern Gagne's list
Roster.
of people. I mean, that was really what it was. I ain't gonna say it's the most pretty match, but it was kind of based on like the round techniques.
Yeah.
The rounds was in it. Stallone's kind of like he winds up becoming like his outside guy. He's kind of like the towel guy, blood him off. And his other brother is kind of like the booker, takes care of the matches. And he comes down to one last match. And it's really cool. I mean, it's an older school movie, and I highly recommend it.
I had to check that
So
out for
it's
sure.
really good. But it's one of Stallone's first movies.
Yeah.
Like, he was
Paradise
just a
Alley.
big wrestling fan. It's called Paradise Alley. In the movie, there's a song called Too Close to Paradise. It's actually Stallone singing it. He's not a bad singer, so it was pretty good. Now, this isn't on my list, but I'm going to say this just because he was a wrestling fan. But with Stallone, he did the Hogan match
Rocky.
in Rocky 3. When he does the power slam, when he says, evidently he didn't want to take his move more than one time. He said he tells like 5 cameras, zoom in, don't nobody miss this move. And when he takes it, he gets slammed. He's like, oh, and he's like, oh. He literally spit up blood. And he's like, cut. And he's like, everybody get it? Everybody got it? Okay, we're not doing that again. So,
Hogan's a big boy.
yeah, I can imagine. And look at, Sly wasn't a small man, but
he was
short
small,
stature, But Hogan slamming you like that, God only knows.
And it's probably a little stiff.
Oh, yeah, because they were in a boxing ring. That's even worse. Me and you both wrestled in boxing rings. They suck. But the final match is a Hogan movie. It's a no holds barred.
Okay.
And I just saw when I was a kid, it had Tiny Lester in it and Stan Hansen.
Okay.
And Stan Hansen is they kind of have like bar wrestling, and he's like their champion in the bar, and he winds up fighting Hogan in
Fits
there.
perfectly, doesn't it?
So I just thought it was him, and yeah.
That's very cool. Have you ever seen a movie called Body Slammed?
Body slam.
Yeah, it's an older movie, but I believe it had. I can't remember. I wrote it down and left my paperwork in the truck.
You're a lot of help.
So, but yeah, it's a movie called They're wrestling. What Culture? What Culture does a documentary like top 10 wrestling movies, and if you watch it, you'll get all the information for the movie Body Slam, because that's where I found it. That's where I found the 1970s version of The Wrestler.
Was there any wrestlers in it?
Yeah, a bunch. Yeah, I believe. But I honestly, I'd never heard of it, and I just literally saw that on the way over here.
I made little side notes. I can't remember everybody, but I was trying to.
But like I say, I did a little research and left it in my vehicle. So
Way to go.
yeah.
Well, what was your top 3 documentaries?
Man, I really like The Unscarred with Nick Mondo. I think that's one of my top. And I'm gonna go with the most generic too, and that's Wrestling with Shadows and Beyond the Mat. Like, I think they're phenomenal. And like I say, I'm going to give that Inside Wrestling where DJZ is going for his Ring of Honor tryout. That's really cool. I really love that. And 2 that I haven't seen but I want to see, that's the Wrestling Road Diaries. I'd like to see those.
I've got 2 of them. I don't have the middle one. I love those. Those were great. I wish Cabana would do some more. That was kind of where I got the inspiration to do the one we did. And I'm thinking about maybe doing that this coming weekend
when we go to Eupora, Mississippi. So if you're in Eupora or surrounding areas, come see us at the elementary school Saturday, November the 2nd.
Give you a little behind the scenes of this.
Yeah.
But my top 3 docs, I picked Unscarred with Dipstick Nick Mondo. The only thing I didn't like about the movie, and it just comes down to real life, is the guy's hurt.
Yeah.
And he just basically, from all the hardcore stuff, he couldn't do it no more. His body's too tore up. And that was the only part I liked, because the guy was really a good wrestler.
Oh,
he
didn't
phenomenal. Have to do the garbage stuff.
He just chose to do it. Yep.
And and I understand that's your right, but I'm like, I was just thinking about how much more he could have did if he hadn't.
Nick's definitely in my top 10 favorite wrestlers. So
because I tell a lot of guys to go watch him, they're like, well, he's a garbage wrestler. I said, but watch what he does in the matches.
Yep.
I said, his moves. I don't even see people do his moves anymore. A lot of his moves I haven't seen in years. But
people should definitely watch that.
If you can find just straight Nick Mondo matches where he isn't doing that stuff,
and they're
good. Yeah, they're really good.
I'll tell you one to watch, and I don't know how many people have seen it, but it's about women's wrestling, and it's like Lipstick, Dynamite, Piss, and Vinegar. I think that's the name of it. It's super good. I really enjoyed it. I actually own that, so it's real good.
My second one was one I know. I don't know if you ever saw it or not. Came for Stiff. Sammy Callahan.
Yes, it's phenomenal about the Finley match.
It's actually on YouTube. I recommend that to anybody.
Yeah. And the guy made that. He has made a ton.
Yes, and
so they're all really good. So
I've never seen any of his that aren't good, but the whole story is basically about.
It's the build up.
Yeah, it's the build up to him versus Finley at Evolve. Something. I wish I could remember the number. I got it at the house. It's a great match, and Finley. I mean, at the end of the match, Finley hugs the guy. And, I don't see Finley being a hugger. You know what I mean? So it's a great build up, a good story. They tell wrestling stories in the car. Mm-hmm. They show you what they're telling too. Yep.
Show you getting ready, like where he dyeing his hair and stuff.
I ain't got much to dye anymore, but so it's really cool. If you like Sammy Callahan and Finley.
Yeah, they got made one on Tim Dunce that was really good as well.
Yeah, Wrestle after Tim's kidneys fell out.
Right.
Not fell out, but what I mean, they gave out on him. Now he wrestles with one kidney, which is kind of dangerous, to be honest. And my last one was Wrestling with Shadows, and we had a conversation about this, not too long ago. Where you think it might be a work?
I think it's a
work. I'm still on the fan side where I say they got lucky and there was a hell of a story going on.
I definitely think it's a work.
I know a lot of people do, and
I mean, it's just too much came out of that was positive. And you can't, you go, oh, well, Brett's WCW career wasn't positive. Well, he didn't know that. You know what I mean? Like,
nobody knew it was going to happen.
The positive, him going to WCW, well, he's got this massive contract out of it, and he went in with a lot of buzz thanks to the screw job.
I remember Scott Hall. I saw him. He was doing like a behind-the-scenes type interview, and he said the reason I think it's a work is because when he wrote, he goes, Vince would have never let that air. And he goes, and I'm like, but he didn't know what happened.
But it was live too,
and it was a live pay-per-view. So there's a lot of ways that you can go, man, it looks real, and a lot of reasons you can go, man, that's a little bit like, how are they coincidentally here and this is happening? Yep. And it could have been.
But again, like, they followed Brett for a year and then put all that info into 1 2-hour documentary. So, I mean, you're going to be everywhere if you follow a guy for a year, So, I think the movie got lucky that all that stuff happened. But I think the actual screw job was work.
It could have been. I mean, I don't know. To this day, I don't think anybody will ever know the true story.
Well, I mean, maybe after they die.
Even, Brett's book doesn't tell you. Sean's book doesn't tell you. I've read them both.
Yep.
Mick Foley's book, because he even took off for a day. He protested.
Yeah, he was PO'd.
And they said that they had to call him back. Cornette told the story of how he had to call him back. Come on, Cactus, I understand you're not agreeing, but it really has nothing to do with you. You're the only person doing this, and you're just losing money. And
well, I think it's going to come down to like Kaufman and Lawler, where only a select few of people knew really what was going on.
Because in the movie Man on the Moon, they finally tell you, we're really friends. It was really a work the whole time. And if you ain't seen Man on the Moon, go watch that movie. It's a great movie. They said in real life, Jerry Lawler was ready to kill him because he was trying to be Kaufman, and he goes, I could not get him to understand that in real life me and Andy were friends. Like he was treating me like shit. He'd spit on me and cuss at me and just everything. And he's like, but I couldn't get him to understand that he wasn't really portraying the character right, because behind the scenes me and Andy were buddies. We were drinking and hoo-ha and
but as long as nobody else saw it.
Yeah, exactly.
If we were the only two in the room, he was fine.
Yeah. So, but he said he's ready to kill Jim Carrey. He said at one point he had him between his legs for the pile driver, and he's like, I'm about ready to give it to him because he pissed me off so bad because he just wouldn't get out of the ring until he did it. So. But like if I ever met Lawler, that's what I'd like to ask him about. I mean, I'd like to ask him about a lot of wrestling too, but I mean that'd be really cool. Like, what was worse, dealing with Andy Kaufman or dealing with Jim Carrey? You know what I mean? Because he said Kaufman wouldn't leave the ring until he called an ambulance. And they laid there for like 30 minutes holding up a wrestling show that was live. He's going to call the ambulance. He goes, I can't do that. It costs too much money. I'll pay for it. And so he calls the ambulance. So.
We'll wrap this up with this. Is there any subject, person, whatever, that you would like to see a documentary made on? I have two.
I'll tell you one I think would be interesting, because I don't really know where this federation's going. It's kind of in the middle right now, and I'm scared it may go down, and I'm hoping it don't. But how Ring of Honor has been like the lowest of the low to the highest of the high. Now it's kind of back in the middle right now.
I'd love to watch that.
Because to this day, I don't know really how it all started.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's had some of the biggest names in professional wrestling there.
You know what? That would be a phenomenal.
And I think it would be fucking awesome just to know that.
I don't think it could be a 2 hour. Like it had to be a 5 hour documentary.
It could be a couple of parts.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that would be a really cool, interesting documentary, because there were a lot of Ring of Honor fans out there. I mean, God, I can't. The list is too long to name of all the wrestlers.
If you watch wrestling today, it's because and you're a fan of somebody, chances are Ring of Honor
80% of WWE's roster right now is Ring of Honor guys. So, TNA did the same thing.
Yeah.
But Ring of Honor was this promotion that was just this little old indie fed, and it became this phenomenal international product.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of like after AEW's guys have kind of left, and I tell people all the time, I said, they only lost 5 people.
Yeah.
I said, y'all quit watching for the wrong reason.
Yep. Oh, if anything, it got better.
I said, there's a lot of people that I really enjoy watching.
If your favorite promotion loses people, continue watching, because it only opens doors for
other
someone
guys
else.
have to step up or step out, you know.
Yep. Or you get new people coming in, you know. So,
and a lot of people don't think about the company that owns Ring of Honor as a television company. Mm-hmm. These people are multi-millionaires. They got plenty of money too. Yeah, they can put on the same product AEW is if they wanted to. The thing is, they don't want to. They like what they're doing. So I'm a Ring of Honor fan. That's no. Well, you got a couple of guys, you know, that have come through Ego, that have gone to try to be at Ring of Honor, and I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with them. They could be there tomorrow. I mean. O'Shea
Edwards is there now training. So
Luke Hawk wrestled for us once, I think.
Once or twice.
He's been a Ring of Honor. There's been several guys.
Josie Quinn's worked their Future of Honor shows. You know, a lot of guys went and did dojo camps and tryouts and stuff. So you never know who you're going to see.
So
for me, Sputnik Monroe. I'd love to see a documentary on him. There's a song out there. Look up like a Sputnik Monroe song. I think the guy's name is Otis something. I can't remember. But it's basically, his song is basically just a little short documentary on Sputnik. But like, he did a lot. Like, so it's super cool. And if you definitely owe it to yourself to go listen to that song. Okay. So for me, that'd be one. And then I'd love a Vince McMahon, like a true, like non-WWF Vince McMahon story. It'll never happen. But like, like if Vice had done it or something, or like it'd be super cool, because Vince has such a cool like story. The fact that this is a guy that grew up in a trailer park, whose dad didn't give two shits about him. He'd go, once a year or something, see his dad, and mom's got all these different guys kicking his ass and shit. Like, Vince had a tough childhood. Yep. And I'm not saying that to take over Vince, because Vince is a crazy individual, but the dude, it wasn't like this stuff was handed to him, people, you hear, oh, Vince's daddy this and Vince's daddy that. Yeah, but Vince's daddy didn't care about Vince.
He wasn't around.
You know what I mean? Like, Vince was grown when he got to hang out with Dad,
They said a lot of reason he kind of took it with Stone Cold, and David said the Sandman was because he more or less lived that lifestyle.
Yeah.
So.
And they said Vince was a hellion.
Yeah, exactly.
But that would be cool for me. So I think those three would be phenomenal. I definitely dig the Ring of Honor idea. But hey guys, watch more than wrestling. Watch documentaries, watch movies, and let us know in the comments what your favorite wrestling movie or favorite documentary
Wait a minute. What was your worst wrestling movie? Did you have a worst?
I don't think so.
I didn't really either.
I mean, if it's got wrestling in, I'm...
Okay, what was your most obscure wrestling person to show up in a movie or commercial or TV or something like that? To me, mine's always one.
I'm going to say Human Tornado being in Nacho Libre. El Snowflake.
Bonesaw. Bonesaw's ready. And Spider-Man.
I got you.
So, I had to ask those
Yeah.
two.
But yeah, so guys, do that. See us November the 2nd, Eupora, Mississippi, Fight Night 6. Later.